Good morning. Today I'm going to introduce you to postmodernism. By the end of the 20th century, there is a need to define a new cultural logic which appears as a result of social, cultural, and aesthetic changes. There are theories that question whether postmodernism has come to an end and postmodernism is what comes after postmodernism, or if it is a second modernity, or if it is a post-modernity that works on the logics of modernism, and whether it goes beyond modernism and postmodernism or not. These different thinkers give this new period different names, but regardless of the name they give to the period, they all agree on the fact that post-modernity has come to an end. Gilles Lipovetsky speaks about hypermodernity, whereas Robert Samuels will call it auto-modernity. Raoul Eshelman and Nicolas Bourriot approach it from the realm of aesthetics, and they will call it performatism and auto-modernity, respectively. Alan Kirby will refer to it as digimodernism, whereas Vermeulen and van der Aken will refer to it as metamodernity. Gilles Lipovetsky is a French philosopher and sociologist, and he speaks of a second modernity which is characterized by three main elements: the market, the technocratic efficiency, and the individual. To him, the present takes the form of globalized liberalism and the quasi-general commercialization of lifestyle. He characterizes the period by excess in every domain. He refers to hyperconsumption, hypersurveillance, hyper-individualism, and hypercapitalism. Robert Samuels talks about auto-modernity and defines it as a reaction against the influence of post-modernity. He's a political reporter and a cultural theorist that sees the period as characterized by the recovered human agency through technology that promotes a globalized politics over the social intervention. Eshelman and Bourriot, as I said before, depart from an aesthetic perspective. For Eshelman, performatism borrows from postmodernism at the same time that it breaks sharply with it. He believes that the relationship between the subject, the sign, and the thing is the basis of all social interaction and communication, and that the act of performing gives the subject the capacity to transcend the given conditions through aesthetic means. Nicolas Bourriot speaks about ultra-modernity, and he believes that it is a new modernity which shapes itself in the context of globalization. In the Triennale of the Tate Gallery in 2009, he published the Ultra-Modern Manifesto, which aims at exploring the contemporary art to see how artists are answering to the present globalized culture with a new spirit and energy. He believes that this globalization compels us to new types of representation, in which the artist is seen as a traveler, as a translator of cultural values, which he attempts to connect in a global network. Alan Kirby, as a cultural critic and philosopher, talks about the death of postmodernism, and he calls this new period postmodernism, pseudo-modernism, and digimodernism. For him, the role of new technologies and the birth of a new type of literature characterizes the new time. This hypertextual literature is characterized by its ephemerality, liquidity, anonymity, and hybrid authorship. He also refers to the role the digital cinema, the visual arts, television, mass media, and social media play in this new period. So, regardless of the name they have chosen to give to this new period that comes after the death of postmodernism, they all agree that the postmodern moment has passed, even though some of its discursive strategies continue to live on. How is postmodernism reflected in literature? There are also different thinkers and different ideas about what it means for literature. Linda Hatcham will talk about the end of postmodernism, whereas McLaughlin talks about concentrates on the changes in the realm of aesthetics. And for Huber, it has to do with the project of reconstruction against postmodernism. Some critics will talk about these new aesthetics as in sort of neo-realism or speculative realism, a new sincerity. But regardless of the name they give it, they all agree on the fact that this new aesthetics in literature aims at recovering the ability to intervene in the social world and to have an impact on actual people and in the institutions. Nicolai Timmer summarizes the characteristics of postmodern literature in 4 items. He points out that there is a return to the real because there are new shared frameworks of reality that are being constructed. He also speaks of a turn to the human and what it means to be human nowadays. As regards stylistic continuity, he believes that the new aesthetic continues to use postmodernist techniques, but the reconnection to the real does not imply a return to realist stylistics. On the contrary, she believes that postmodern techniques are still used in a postmodern novel, but they have a different function than that of the postmodern novel. They have come simply to function as realistic devices for this generation of authors. She also argues that in the postmodernist literature, there is a need for a communicative bonding because sharing is important as a way to identify with others, and the human figures in the postmodern novel seem to long for some sort of containment, and it aims at creating empathy. So, what is the role of literature in postmodernism? He has assumed it can be observed that there is a renewed faith in the potentialities of literature to represent reality. It is also argued as a reaction against the postmodern self-referential experimentation and the preoccupation with non-referential uses of language. There is a need to reconnect language to the social sphere and to recover the social mission of literature to have an impact on the life of ordinary people and in real institutions. As regards strategies, we can say that the postmodern strategies have to do with the use of linear plots and repertorial depiction of milieu and time. The handling of characters is more or less traditional, and as we said before, postmodern strategies are still used, but with a different aim. They aim at creating a new realism that represents the world that we more or less know. As regards the main representatives, we can talk about David Foster Wallace, Jonathan Franzen, A.M. Holmes, Dave Eggers, and Mark Danielewski. Thank you.